السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمد رسول الله. أشهد أن محمد رسول الله. حي على الصلاة. حي على الصلاة. حي على الفلاح. حي على الفلاح. الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله.
الحمد لله علي الذات عظيم الصفات سمي السمات كبير الشأن جليل القدر رفيع الذكر مطاع الأمر جلي البرهان فخيم الاسم غزير العلم وسيل الحلم كثير الغفران جميل الثناء جزيل العطاء مجيب الدعاء عميم الإحسان سريع الحساب شديد العقاب أليم العذاب عزيز السلطان. ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له في الخلق والأمر. ونشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله المبعوث إلى الأسود والأحمر المنعوت بشرح الصدر ورفع الذكر. وصلى الله عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه الذين هم خلاصة العرب العرباء وخير الخلائق بعد الأنبياء. أما بعد فيا أيها الناس وحدوا الله فإن التوحيد رأس الطاعات واتقوا الله فإن التقوى ملاك الحسنات. وعليكم بالسنة فإن السنة تهدي إلى الإطاعة ومن أطاع الله ورسوله فقد رشد واهتدى. وإياكم والبدعة فإن البدعة تهدي إلى المعصية ومن يعص الله ورسوله فقد ضل وغوى. وعليكم بالإحسان فإن الله يحب المحسنين. وادعوه فإنه مجيب الداعين. واستغفروه يمددكم بأموال وبنين. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم لعلك باخع نفسك ألا يكونوا مؤمنين. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran, one of the very fundamental values that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala stresses upon us, and He emphasizes throughout the Quran, is a very fascinating and fundamental concept that is referred to as Ikhlas. Roughly translated, we often translate the word Ikhlas as sincerity. And while that no doubt is a part of the word, that is a meaning of the word, but it sometimes, in our minds at least, it fails to capture the essence of what ikhlas truly is. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, وَمَا أُمِرُوا إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُ اللَّهَ مُخْلِصِينَ لَهُ الدِّينَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us to be people of ikhlas. أَلَا لِلَّهِ الدِّينُ الْخَالِصِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says the religion itself is khalis. It has purity. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that the thing that He has demanded of us is to have this type of sincerity, purity in our practice of the religion, in the way that we live our lives. In trying to understand exactly the concept of ikhlas, so we can really start to live our lives the way that we were meant to, I wanted to touch on a particular topic, and I wanted to highlight the intersection between two areas of our deen, of our religion, of our lives, that we unfortunately today have completely separated from one another. We've compartmentalized our lives and our religions to the point where it has actually stripped our lives and even our practice of the religion from its original intent and design. And I wanted to highlight this intersection. We have another very important concept in our religion that we talk about quite often. And when I first bring it up, you might not be able to understand what's the connection between the two topics. The other area of our lives and the practice of our deen in our lives that we talk about, that we understand is important, is what we often refer to as Akhlaq. Roughly again translated as character. How you conduct yourself. Now what does Akhlaq have to do with Ikhlas? And this is where we have the question. This is where the conundrum occurs. This is where the disconnect happens. Because for many of us, the definition of Akhlaq is that if someone does good to you, then you do good to them. هَلْ جَزَاءُ الْإِحْسَانِ إِلَّا الْإِحْسَانِ. Quran says it. That the reward, the recompense, the response to virtue, can it be anything else but virtue? So we understand, someone's good to you, you're good to them. But what we have to understand is what truly allows us to find and bridge the two areas of our lives that are completely separated today. We've treated spirituality as a completely different part of our lives. And then our personal interaction with people, as whether it be business, whether it be neighbors, whether it be friends, whether it be family, that we understand that this is a completely separate part of life. But we need to find the bridge in the middle, because this deen, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala demands of us. "Udkhulu fi silmi kafatan. Wa la tamutunna illa wa antum muslimun. Tawaffani musliman." Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala throughout the Quran is telling us to enter completely into the religion. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, do not leave this world unless you are a Muslim. The dua is taught to us in the Quran, allow me to leave this world as someone who completely embodies the idea of submitting to God with the entirety of my life. So we have to find a way to bridge these two concepts together. And the way that I wanted to do that, I'll start off by sharing a story from the life of the Prophet ﷺ. And I hope that this will start to demonstrate exactly what I'm trying to get at here. The Prophet ﷺ, there's so many stories that we can touch on. The one that I'll highlight today is something that really resonates with me. There was a man, if you go all the way back to the beginning of the mission of the Prophet ﷺ, there were many of the leaders of Quraysh, the leaders in Mecca, the chiefs in Mecca, who decided to take an opposition, that they decided to be the opposition to the Prophet ﷺ. They decided to take an adversarial position against the Prophet ﷺ. And you had many people of the ranks of, or the likes of Abu Jahl, Abu Lahab, Umayyah ibn Khalaf, and so on, Walid bin Mughira, and so on and so forth. This was the older generation of the opposition against Islam. Many of that generation either died or was killed in the Battle of Badr. And so that generation was gone. But however, there was another generation. The second generation of the opposition against Islam were many of their sons. For Abu Jahl, you had Ikrimah, that was his son, who would later become Muslim. For Umayyah bin Khalaf, you had Safwan ibn Umayyah, who would later become Muslim. And so for Walid bin Mughira, you had his son Khalid bin Walid, who would eventually become Muslim. But you had this second generation of opposition. And make no mistake, just because these three people I've named would eventually become Muslim, radiyallahu ta'ala anhum ajma'een, but don't make the mistake of thinking that they were with the Prophet ﷺ from the beginning. No. They picked up from where their fathers left off, and in many instances they took it a step further than their fathers did. They took the opposition to whole new heights. And I wanted to present the case of Safwan bin Umayyah. His father was a sworn enemy of the Prophet ﷺ, who died fighting against the Prophet ﷺ. And his son, this man, he was also a sworn enemy of the Prophet ﷺ and of Islam. And he had fought on numerous occasions against the Muslims and against the Prophet ﷺ. Even in the 6th year of Hijrah, when the Treaty of Hudaybiyah was signed, was enacted, where now there was peace between Mecca and Medina. They were not going to be fighting one another anymore. And part of that treaty was that in the next year, the 7th year, the Muslims, the Prophet ﷺ, they would all come to Mecca for 3 days and they would perform Umrah. And that was agreed to by both sides. Safwan was one of the people who led a campaign. When they were coming to perform Umrah, in the month of Dhul Qa'dah, he led a campaign to protest the Prophet ﷺ's presence in the city of Mecca. He campaigned, put an entire protest together, gathered many of the leaders of the community together, and they waited outside of Mecca for the Prophet ﷺ and the Muslims to arrive. And when they walked into Mecca, they walked out of Mecca, and they said, we will stay outside of Mecca for 3 days until they leave. Mecca is not big enough for the both of us. We will protest your presence here. But there's a treaty that's been signed. That's fine. We still don't like him. And we don't like them. And we don't like this whole situation. This is who Safwan was. He had so much animosity against the Prophet ﷺ. Now what happens? Another year after that, in the 8th year of Hijrah, the Meccans, they violate the Treaty of Hudaybiyah. They break the treaty. And the Prophet ﷺ has to hold them accountable. The Muslims, along with the Prophet ﷺ, they marched towards Mecca to take control of the city of Mecca, to hold them responsible and accountable for violating the treaty. When that happens, Safwan, he says, I have stood against the Prophet ﷺ the majority of my adult life. The last 21 years, I have dedicated my life to opposing this man. He's going to come here now and be in charge. I need to leave town. I need to get out of here. I will not be safe if I remain here. And so what he does is he flees Mecca. He's gone. Good riddance, we would say. What I want everyone to do is I want you to think about how you would handle that situation. If there was someone who made every effort, they dedicated their life to opposing me, and I knew that I was right. The Prophet ﷺ knew he was right. He gets revelation. I know that I'm right. I know that he's wrong for a fact. Many of us have trouble. We can't necessarily always say when we're right, when we're wrong, unless when it comes to the matters of Iman and Kufr. Right? But in this situation, the Prophet ﷺ 100% is in the right. And Safwan 100% is in the wrong. Think to yourself, as we walk through this narrative, how you would handle the situation. I know how I would. If my sworn enemy, I got the upper hand, I was going to win, and my sworn enemy fled with his tail between his legs, I would say good riddance. I would mock him. Where is he now? Where's tough guy now? That's what I would do. What does the Prophet ﷺ do? Safwan's best friend, his name is Umayr bin Wahab. He becomes a Muslim. He comes to the Prophet ﷺ and he says, I know Safwan has done what he's done in the past. But I can also vouch for the fact that he's a good person. There's a good person inside. He just hasn't been put in the right situation. And I have hope that he'll come around. I've known him my whole life. He is a good person. He's just been a bad situation. Give him a chance, please. The Prophet ﷺ says, I'm here. What more do you want me to do in terms of give him a chance? He can come and talk to me if he wants. He says, yes, but there's history here. There's history. He's afraid that if he shows up, he'll be captured and executed. If you guarantee him safety, if you grant him amnesty, then I know that I can bring him. The Prophet ﷺ, without blinking, he says, granted. It's so shocking. The people around him are shocked. Just like that? A sworn enemy of 20 years? Like that? The Prophet ﷺ says, he's safe. He may come. Umayr is so shocked, he says, I can barely believe that you just gave it like that. He's never going to believe that. What would be my reaction if somebody told me that? I just forgave my sworn enemy, and then someone is saying, oh, but he might not believe that you did it. Why is that my problem? Does that sound like my problem? No, that's his problem. I don't care. If he wants to take it, take it. If he doesn't want to, I don't care. But what does Umayr say? He says, please give me some proof that proves that I'm bringing this message from you. In our day and age, you record a video of somebody saying what they're saying. At that time, you gave some type of personal article, personal belonging, that someone could only have if they personally handed it to you. And so the Prophet ﷺ takes his turban off of his head. Because who's going to put a hand on the head of the Prophet ﷺ surrounded by the companions? He takes his turban off of his head and he puts it down in front of Umayr and he says, the only way you could have possession of this is if I took it off my head and handed it to you. Take it. Take it. Think about that. Somebody doing that for their enemy after having forgiven them. Making such a gesture. In the culture of the Arabs, they used to refer to this as a taj. They used to refer to this as tajul ru'us. They used to call it a crown, what you cover your head with. And so he gives him his own turban. Umayr goes and finds Safwan about to board a ship from the port, about to depart. He screams after him, Safwan, Safwan, don't go. He's like, no, I'm getting out of here, because he knew his friend had become Muslim. So he's like, no, I'm out of here. He says, no, come here. The Prophet has forgiven you. He says, you lie. How would he just forgive me like that? I would never forgive him. He says, look, I'm holding his turban. When Safwan says that, when he sees that, his jaw drops. Really? He comes down off the ship. And Umayr brings him back to Mecca. When he comes and sits in front of the Prophet ﷺ, the Prophet ﷺ says, I've made my gesture. I've shown you what Islam is. It's time for you to accept Islam. And he gives him da'wah, presents Islam to him. Remarkably, what does Safwan say? Safwan says, I'm not sure how I feel about this. I need some time to think about it. The Prophet ﷺ says, how much time would you like? He says 2 months. The Prophet ﷺ said, you want 2 months? Take 4 months. Think about it. You can stay here in Mecca, you can go back home, live with your family, take care of your business, resume your life, and take your time to think about things. Who treats someone like that? Now, during that time, there is another battle. There's an enemy that's gathering at the valley of Hunain to fight the Muslims. The Prophet ﷺ and the Muslims have to go fight them. When they're going there, they have a shortage of weapons and armor. Shortage of supplies. Safwan was what we would call today a gun collector. He used to collect weapons. It said he had enough armory personally to be able to equip 100 soldiers. It was just his hobby. He used to just collect armor and weapons and things like that. The Prophet ﷺ asked him, he said, can we borrow your supplies? We have a battle to go fight. He says to the Prophet ﷺ, he points in his face, the man who's forgiven him, the man who's granted him protection, the man who gave him his life back. He points in his face and he says, Aghasban ya Muhammad? Aghasban ya Muhammad? He says, you try and take my stuff, Muhammad? You're going to forcefully take my stuff from me? And the Prophet ﷺ responds, بَلْ عَارِيَةً مَضْمُونَةً نُؤَدِّهَا إِلَيْكَ. Hadith al-Bukhari. He says, no. Rather, we'd like to borrow it from you and we'll return it back to you and compensate you for any damages that might be incurred. The Prophet is in charge. He doesn't have to do any of this. His authority is unquestionable. He's a messenger of God, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They go, they fight the battle, they come back. They go, they fight the battle, they come back. When they get back, the Prophet ﷺ tells some of the Sahaba like Bilal and Abu Ubaidah ibn al-Jarrah. He tells them, he says, please collect all of Safwan's equipment. Go through the roster, check the checklist, make sure everything is there, and then call him and ask him to inspect it and see what we owe him in terms of damages. They go through all the armory, and then they finally recognize, okay, we're missing a couple of swords and a couple of shields are damaged. The Prophet ﷺ calls Safwan and he says, you were missing 2 swords and 2 of your shields are damaged. What do I owe you? Ajib. What do I owe you? After everything the Prophet ﷺ did for him? And you know what Safwan says? He says, La ya Rasulallah. Do you see the difference already? Before he said, Aghasban ya Muhammad. 2 weeks ago, he called him Muhammad. Now he says, La ya Rasulallah. No, Messenger of God. Inna li fil Islami raghba. I would like to accept Islam. Akhlaq is something fascinating, it's something beautiful. And we talk about it all the time. And there's many different ways, no doubt, to observe and to gauge and to check our akhlaq. How you say salam when you walk into a room. How you shake someone's hand. How you look them in the eye when you speak to them. How you sit with somebody when you're sharing food with them. Lots of beautiful things like that, no doubt. And they're all very important. But a very powerful way for us to measure ourselves, in terms of not only our akhlaq, but our sincerity. How do you treat someone that you have nothing to gain from? How do you treat someone that has nothing to offer you? How do you treat someone when you're the one who has done everything for them and they have done nothing for you? How do you treat someone when there's no equal exchange here? If I'm doing business with someone and I'm selling them something and they're going to pay me for what I'm selling them and I'm very nice and polite with them, that's nice. That makes me a decent person. But there's nothing remarkable about that. But when I walk up to someone standing on the side of the street and I stop and I say, Assalamu alaikum, and I shake their hand. What's your name, brother? How you doing? Can I offer you a ride? Everything okay? There's something remarkable about that. I have nothing to gain from that person. There's nothing that person can do for me. And this is something that's missing. We live in such a world today, in a culture today, that is so transactional, that is so fixated upon what can you do for me? Always getting ahead, always getting something out of everything, always getting some type of benefit for myself. And we've been so ingrained with this mentality. Everywhere you look, all the time, all we deal with is more and more and more discussions and talks about how to build, how to build strategic relationships, how to build strategic partnerships, how to make more money, how do you become an influencer in today's society. That's all we talk about, that's all we hear, that's all we watch, that's all we read, that's all we listen to. And so what's ended up happening, it's showed us, today's society has shown us that it's become the absolute worst form of the human potential. Where everyone is only interested, everyone is only engaged in, everyone is only on their best behavior conduct when they feel that there is something to gain. There is something to be had. Well, what if it's somebody that can't do anything for you? How do you treat that person? How much out of your way are you willing to go for that person? And that's when you find out not only about your character, akhlaq, where we started, but more importantly, that's when you also find out about your ikhlas, your sincerity, and how much sincerity you have in your character. I quoted an ayah of the Quran to begin the khutbah. لَعَلَّكَ بَاخِعٌ نَفْسَكَ أَلَّا يَكُونُوا مُؤْمِنِينَ. This ayah is so powerful. It shakes your heart when you recognize what Allah is saying here. Allah is saying to the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ that if you keep on going at the rate that you're going at, you're going to end up killing yourself out of concern for them because they do not believe. The opposition, the enemies, the strangers, the ones who don't have a moment to listen to you, you worry about them so much. About their well-being in this dunya, about their well-being in the life of the hereafter. You care about them so much, you sacrifice for them so much, that you're going to wither away. you're going to kill yourself. You're going to destroy yourself emotionally and physically. Because how much you care about people who don't even care to listen to you, who don't even have a moment to listen to you. That was the selflessness of the Prophet ﷺ. You know, there's a powerful hadith of Bukhari, and I'll conclude with this. In a hadith of Bukhari, the Prophet ﷺ says, الساعي على الأرملة والمسكين كالمجاهد في سبيل الله والقائم الليل والصائم النهار. The Prophet ﷺ says that the one who strives to take care of widows and orphans, people they have no connection to, no relation to, no benefit from, people that probably are never going to ever be in a position to be able to do something back for them in this dunya. People that are never going to be able to do anything for them. In this dunya, no. Akhirah, we understand. Allah will reward them. But in this dunya, people that are never going to be able to do any type of good for you. People who strive to help people in those types of situations is like someone who is fighting and striving in the path of God. Somebody who's defending the religion. Somebody who is defending the entire community from the enemy that wants to kill it and attack it. See, we all admire the valor and the courage and the bravery of the soldier, the warrior. But did we ever stop to admire the courage and the selflessness? The selflessness requires courage. I'm putting my own self-interest aside and expending the same money, time, capital, resources that I could use to get something back for myself. I'm now going to use it to help somebody that cannot do anything for me. That's courage. Do we ever admire the courage of the selfless person? We all admire the piety, the devotion, the dedication of the person who prays all night long and who fasts every other day. We admire their piety and their devotion, dedication. And no doubt, it is admirable. But have we ever stopped to admire the devotion and the dedication of the person who serves people who cannot do anything for them in this life? That's true devotion. That's true dedication to your ideals, to your principles, to your faith. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us the ability to be selfless people. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us not only character but also sincerity. Barakallahu lana wa lakum fil Qur'an al-azim. Wa nafa'ani wa iyyakum bil ayati wa dhikr al-hakim. Astaghfirullah li wa lakum wa li sa'ilil muslimin. Fastaghfiruhu innahu huwal ghafurur rahim. الحمد لله رب العالمين والعاقبة للمتقين والصلاة والسلام على سيد المرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. قال الله عز وجل في كتابه المجيد بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على محمد عبدك ورسولك وصل على المؤمنين والمؤمنات والمسلمين والمسلمات وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى أزواجه وذريته اللهم أعز الإسلام والمسلمين اللهم انصر الإسلام والمسلمين اللهم اهدنا واهد بنا واجعلنا سببا لمن اهتدى اللهم أعنا على ذكرك وشكرك وحسن عبادتك اللهم أحسن عاقبتنا في الأمور كلها وأجنا من خزي الدنيا وعذاب الآخرة اللهم وفقنا لما تحب وترضى وصلى الله تعالى على نبي الكريم قال الله تعالى إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون اذكروا الله يذكركم وادعوه يستجب لكم ولذكر الله أكبر والله يعلم ما تصنعون أقم الصلاة.